Andrea, nice to have you here. We are in Munich, I guess first spring day this year.
Lucky.
Great to have you here. We were really looking forward to have a conversation with you. You're a mobility designer with lots and lots of experience, starting at Audi, Bertone, Neo, Lilium. Now you're a founder on your own. You did so many things. So we would love to share some thoughts with you, speaking about design. Maybe you can introduce yourself.
Oh, thanks for Nate to have me here and especially meet you in person. Well, I'm Andrea Mocellin. I'm a mobility designer entrepreneur, and I start everything from the Royal College of Art, where I got my master's degree, and immediately after having sponsored by Audi my final thesis, I joined Pininfarina working on Ferrari projects. The first project was the F12 Berlinetta with the exterior design team from Pininfarina.
Awesome.
Back in the time, Pininfarina was actually the main designer of Ferrari, and immediately after I joined Alfa Romeo Maserati for about 4 years, where I was involved most of the time in the Alfa Romeo Giulia, so leading the exterior of the design of the car, in the way to actually bring the DNA of the product in this sedan. And I left 1 year before, and 1 year and a half before the car was launched, to actually join Louis Vermeersch in Grand Studio, working as consultant for 4 years all around the world, basically from Silicon Valley to Asia, and also leading a team in Beijing, working on concept cars for a joint venture with Mercedes.
Wow.
Before again joining Neo here in Munich.
Yeah.
Amazing company, and I'm a big fan of it because it was really like a pioneering in electric cars. Joining then Lilium as a lead designer, so shaping the exterior and interior of the Lilium jet, which teach me also a lot because in the meantime
You started on your own now, isn't it?
Exactly, like I found Revolve Mobility with the pioneering actually the inclusion and accessibility with the Revolve Air wheelchair, which is the world's first active wheelchair suitable as cabin luggage. And Revolve itself now is running different acceleration programs, also is being awarded with the Red Dot Award, Time Magazine Best Invention, and partnering with Toyota Europe and Allianz to actually bring this technology to life. So I'm also in the entrepreneur side since a few years, but now more than ever.
Very impressive, very, very impressive. That's why we wanted to talk to you, because I guess there's not so many people in the industry changing from car to design really into mobility design, doing so many different products, and that's just very few people do it like that. So we would love to know more about your design thinking, how you did all these projects and what is coming up in the future.
Yeah, looking forward to explain more.
So maybe you can directly start in and tell us a little bit more about your new startup.
Yeah.
What do you want to do with that, and what is the special thing about Revolve?
Yeah. Well, Revolve actually born in 2018 in the form of a foldable wheel. Came out from the seek of inventing a product that actually can be multitasking and fit in the new frontiers of foldable vehicles. I love human-powered vehicles, which means bicycles, wheelchairs, everything that moves, or skateboard. And Revolve at the beginning born with the intention to be multitasking, but by the fact to present the wheel in a show, in exhibition and fairs, I got the feedback that actually the wheels could revolutionize the wheelchair industry if a frame around the wheel was designed. So Revolve Air was actually shaped, let's say, in a super small studio with using open source 3D printer to actually generate the first prototypes. And after that, I displayed basically through a LinkedIn post the design, and immediately got viral, not only from wheelchair user, but globally.
How great is that? Yeah, awesome.
And suddenly became a company with the investors and partners.
So you did a prototype in a sketch, just shared it on LinkedIn, and like by accident created a company out of that.
Yeah, I mean,
it
was never intended to be like a company because it was an independent project. Not secretly saying, coming from frustration of everyday life in a tough period, economically as well for worldwide. So I really wanted to shape with my hand basically something that was unique and patented in a way that actually could revolutionize a sector that was standing still for decades, if not 100 years. So bringing again the automotive design expertise in a new field, and that teach me that actually opportunities can grow from things that you never expect, right? That's
definitely.
the point.
And that's so fun because I see some similarities to us here. when we started with Novos, I started together with my friend Marcus, who's still now part of the team. And during studies, we just wanted to create the coolest light bike, we call it, because it's something between e-bike and a proper motorbike. And that's it. We just wanted to build the coolest and design the coolest bike we can imagine. And then over years and years, we built up a prototype without thinking about business cases on anything like that. And then when it was done, we put it on a show in the US and got a call from Tesla. And this was the initial starting point to build a company out of that. Before that, we just wanted to have fun, to be honest.
That's the power of being car designers, right? Because you spend your career to convince the board to choose your design. And then you bring this actually expertise in another field, and then you realize that actually by a product or rendering you display, people want that product, and then you're like, so why should I not do it? And then of course everything starts again, and there is a long way to go, but I think we have this in common for sure. And if I think about what design can be, is creating a product that first of all create a wow effect, because it means that it's new, it's innovative, and secondly that doesn't give you troubles. So when you use it, it feels so natural that actually it feels like why it was not there before. So simplicity meets functionality basically, that allow the product to be as smart and usable as possible.
I can definitely agree. And did this change during the years of your career? Have you had a different approach at the beginning in comparison to what it is now?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that when you study, for example, design, you want to do as many projects as possible, quantity. When you work in the industry, you realize that actually the meaning of being a designer is actually having a product that is completely new, especially if you are a mobility designer. You really want to shape something that is never been done before. That brings a lot of struggle behind the scene, because when you see it in the show, everything looks amazing and perfect. But when you go through the process, you realize that that product has to be used by someone. And that brings the difficulties to actually make it really good and functional and beautiful as well.
Probably that's something like the realization that we are not artists.
Exactly.
To realize that design is not just being an artist, but creating something that has a value for people using it out there. And with this, there's so many complications. But also this makes it so challenging and it's also rewarding, I would say.
Yeah, it's a good point that, I mean, when you study design, everyone, if you talk to family and friends, they're telling like, well, you are an artist, you sketch, can you do me a sketch? And then you realize that actually you don't sketch anymore because you have to do everything else. So yeah, design, I think, like Apple probably or BMW or big brands really change how design works, especially recently, because user experience come almost before everything else. And that make art in a completely different perspective. So it's not anymore sketches only, but also like what is behind and what can you take from how the world is changing as well.
And probably these are the challenges for the next generation of designers, to think more globally. So what I would like to know is, what do you think design can do in the future of what it can do for the future of mobility, and what are the tasks for future designers? What do they have to consider?
Yeah, I would say that if you are studying vehicle design right now, it's a really tough time, because if you look back at 30 years ago, you were meeting everyone from Art Center, Fordham and Royal College. There was like the 3 schools, and they are now all directors or head of design globally. If you're studying now, basically you have to face not only the competition, but also artificial intelligence, new software, the speed of the project getting crazy. Something that I believe is really important is to get back to craftsmanship, because I think it's going to be the thing that will make the product different, and will also get the customer closer, because we were discussing before also like how important is the hardware to be seen, not only be seen in a picture, but be seen in reality. And I think that also when you want to do this job, you have to learn how important it is to touch the product, building it, even doing mistake, get the hands dirty to actually manufacturing it.
For myself, I have to say, like you said, in the beginning of my design career, I just wanted to create awesome designs, and it was just a matter of time until I realized, okay, it doesn't work like that. It was so quickly happening that the sketch was falling apart as soon as the technicians came in. And so I had to start to realize that I have to consider this from the very first beginning. And now, at least now, I try to consider this at the first stage, like what we've done with Novus, is to try to connect function and design from the very first sketch. With every sketch you do, you try to consider maybe technical background, structural issues, all these things. And I also expect from my engineers that they think in an aesthetic way, also being a designer. And if you can reach that, then you can really realize something special.
That's a good point, because also, like, if I look back to my experience as mobility designer, when you work for Ferrari, Alfa Romeo, for example, Maserati, you just walk in the museum and you just get inspiration. You know that you have to do a car, has to be as beautiful as possible. You have to convince Alfa fan to purchase or buy another car. But when you work for global startups like Neo, Lilium, or even Revolve Mobility, you don't have references, because you have to be different from the other company, and then it needs to be a solution. Design has to be a solution, because you can't visit a museum and but like be inspired by the past.
You have to be inspired by the future.
Exactly, or really like trying to reach out your kid, like yourself when you were starting this job, like what was the passion behind starting to study this job and doing it. So I think that the solution comes also from an inner yourself that want to do something that is never been seen before and is different, not totally different, but is bringing benefits. So I think there is a lot that is changing as well, and that's why like I see a lot of differentiation between global startups or early stage startups and global brands that have a lot of history, heritage, both amazing experiences, but they're really different. So
yeah, definitely. On the one hand, I would say it's quite tough to start by zero because you have nothing being able to relate to. On the other hand, you can start from scratch, and that's something the big brands, they have no chance to do it like that. A 911 always has to look like a 911, but what if there is a better solution out there?
Yeah, then there is startups to do it. Right? I mean, I'm happy actually really to see also like automotive designer getting to be a founder and entrepreneur, because it's always crazy, right? You can't learn at school. It's like something that you learn by mistakes most of the time, failures, thousands of times, and I think it's so important. And as you mentioned before, of course, if you work for a big brand, you have to expect that there is rules to follow. When you work for startups, you don't want rules, but then you have to make rules by yourself. That is another book, right? Yeah.
Is there a certain advantage you see in being a founder and a designer at the same time? What can you bring into a company what somebody else, maybe with an MBA background, couldn't?
Yeah, I mean, actually, facing, for example, the time in Lilium, I was really happy to be there, working with the founders, working with the people starting the company. Because actually, as I was at the same time launching Revolve as a technology innovation, I had the opportunity to understand what you were living behind the scene. So looking for investors, convincing the client, marketing, technology, engineering, so all these things together. There is a strong book to keep in the way to make it smooth. And I think that when you are a designer and you know that, how it works, I think it's beneficial. From the beginning, maybe you look like you have some limitation because they're gonna tell you why you don't get completely free. But then you understand that time has a lot of value and you have to go almost straight to the point because, investor can't wait forever to see something coming up. So I think that is a big advantage. Well, I think that when you design extremely complex project, as can be a bike, motorbike, car, aircraft, everything that moves, I think you have to see the project as a marathon, not a sprint. Because I think the biggest mistake is then when they tell you do it quick and dirty, which is fine, but then at the same time it's like, how many times I need to do quick and dirty? Because I see that the product is coming out in 3-4 years because hardware has the tough rule to be depending by regulation, team, investment, and craftsmanship, manufacturing. and then you have to make rules. Means I think routine in a routine life, because of course if you're an entrepreneur designer, you don't have routines because every day can be different and you have to create something new. But I still strongly believe that you have to train your mindset to be a marathoner rather than a sprinter.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And regarding the design work for its own, do you have some rules for your design process?
Yeah, I mean,
how
like,
design for you, or a good design has to be, or always should be?
I have to say I love products that you see the instinct of the designer on it that created. I like also like really successful product that sell millions of cars or bicycles or everything that moves. But when you see the soul of the designer, I think then it becomes a masterpiece, right? That people realize, they feel emotion on it. So basically, if you see a product that has a meaning behind, in terms of also emotion, I think is truly important. So when I start a project, basically, something that I like to do is for sure following a briefing, but also get like a free sketch going, just to catch how it might look the soul of the product. Then start again from scratch through engineering, through packages, and of course finance and everything. But always look back, how was the first idea? Like
that's like the key sketch trick.
Exactly.
Always look back at the key sketch.
Yeah, and that can come from a phone or other product. So it doesn't really matter what you are creating. But I think it's super important to keep in mind what was the core idea and always look back to it, because it's so easy to change it, morph it, and then are you proud to have it out there? I don't know.
You can easily lose what it is about. You can easily lose the soul in a process. I can totally agree. I would even go further and say the most important thing on a design, or the first function of design, is to create an emotion at the customer, at the user.
Yeah.
If you can't reach that, you just failed.
Yeah.
For me personally, when I do designs, I try to follow just two rules, just set for myself. First is like the rule of parsimony. It's called parsimony. I guess it's a physical concept that if I have two different options for the same design with the same value, like all the registrations or all the values are the same, but we have two different designs, I always try to follow the more simple one, always. And the second rule for me is trying to integrate as much as possible to get out the soul, as you said, or to really create an icon. You have to integrate as much as possible. Otherwise, all the different components will compete with each other, and then it's so hard to read for the clients, for the customers. So integrating everything and always choosing for the more simple solution.
Yeah. True. I mean, like in that case, I'm thankful for not to mention again Apple, but brands that brought to life this kind of minimalism.
Oh yeah.
Because at the end of the day, simplicity is so hard to achieve.
Definitely.
Especially because you always have to do something new. You always have to impress people. People have to buy the product, and everyone follow the same rules. Because of course, if a product looks clean, then you want it, because it's like, who doesn't want something that is pure and emotional? But at the same time, it's so hard to actually get to the point and maintain it. Because I also remember this time in automotive industry that was like over design, over details. And I'm really glad that we are going away from that time. Try to speak more about liquid design form language, something that looks more shaped by nature. Not only because we have to be sustainable, but also because human beings need that to feel good and to have a product that is timeless. Because
everything else is exchangeable.
Yeah,
it is modern, but it will get old pretty quick.
Yeah, exactly.
That's sometimes it's fine for the market, but I mean, at least I guess we have the same opinion. We're looking for something else.
Yeah. I mean, if I see also your product is, you see that in 10 years can be an icon again, or 20 years an icon. So I think you have to fight for that. I know that it's not easy, because if you look back, you see a lot of struggle to make such an iconic product. But I do believe that, as designer, you have to work for that. Otherwise,
It also has to do something with sustainability. I mean, why changing product designs every 2 years if you can really create an icon and just change functionality, change services, change range or whatever.
Yeah, I think then come again the fact that I think if in the future be a designer is not anymore just shaping a product, but it's really be entrepreneur, because it's not enough yet to just shape a product. You have to be behind that to understand what could be the next trend, especially now that everything goes 1,000 kilometers per hour. Not anymore. Not also like not also in terms of project, but also in terms of vehicles. If you look Hyperloop, iCraft, cars. I mean, everything is just way too fast. So,
mentioning Hyperloop, one thing I would love to know is what kind of product would you like to have created or designed, where you said, "Oh wow, that's such a great design. I would have done this project."
Yeah, I mean, if I was lucky enough to born in the golden age of car design, when like there was Pininfarina, the first age of Pininfarina, shaping the Cis Italia, beautiful cars, that when you go to the museum, it's just like still outstanding. Alfa Romeo with the 33 Stradale, these masterpieces. Something that I miss is not only a product that I would like to have designed, that could be, for example, the Jaguar E-Type, sorry, or something again iconic, Ferrari Daytona, but I think it's the period of time where there was the possibility to shape art, right? Because it was handcraft. That's the thing, like, so I regret a bit that opportunity that it was missing. But also recently I had the chance to work with Bertone to design the basically limited edition hypercar. And I still see the potential that there is customer that want this craftsmanship. There is customer that want to feel again, to be involved with the designer, the creator, to actually make something that is unique. So I'm a big fan of global product because I like to own global product. But in that case, I would rather prefer to be in a marketing and creative commercial team. And if I have to be designer, I prefer to work as well in terms of craftsmanship, limited edition products. So like try to see in this pool of ideas.
So the question was if design still has probably out of our view the necessary value in the market, in the industry. It depends on the brand, I would say. There are some brands like Apple, let's start with them, that valued design from the very early beginning in such a certain way that it is a crucial part of the whole brand. And it gives them such an edge about all the others. They seriously understood it, and they understood that design is more than just the shape of it. It is the whole user experience. Everything what they do is designed, I would say so.
True.
And then there was other brands where design sometimes, I mean, I experienced it in my past, where design is just part of the technical department. And then it can be pretty hard and pretty tough.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good point, because I think nowadays people give design for granted. So when you see something nice, it's like, oh, no, it's not been designed because it's always been like that, you know, it looks natural. And then it's like, yeah, actually there is really good designer working on that. So I think that I would like to change it, because more there is also this podcast or people speaking about design. I remember there was Jonathan Ive, Mark Newsom, other people always trying to express how things works. And there is a beautiful documentary called Objectified, which I suggest to everyone that is passionate about design, because you really understand how the most iconic products are designed, but you don't even realize that they are designed. And because like returning to the first question, more feels natural to use that product, more is well designed, and more you don't question who designed it, who made it, because it's like, it's always been like that. Mother Nature made it, right? It's like, that's
well said.
Yeah.
Definitely, I would say so. It's called the Maya principle, most advanced yet acceptable. And that's something, I don't know how it is for you, but we thought a lot about that. Could our design be too advanced to reach customers? Could it be that people might hesitate to use it because it looks too futuristic? You have to somehow try to get yourself out of this conversation.
True.
Because the design is not for yourself, it's not for the designer, it's for the customers. And I guess some brands in the past did it right, and some did it maybe not as good. So you can go too far, I would say so. But how was it for you at Lilium? I mean, probably people might be afraid stepping into a jet. How does the design has to react on that?
Yeah. I mean, in my past 4 years, actually, also before with Neo, I think between Neo, Lilium, and Revolve, I would say like they are part of the same way that customer, they want to touch the product, so they like your product digitally. Then when they come to the fair, all this interest, they are like more in becoming a surprise or shocking to say, oh wow, okay, that product looks much better in reality. Yeah. Can I try? Can I sit? Can I do that? And again, comes back the problem that you have to do products for people, because they're gonna sit on the jet, they're gonna use the jet, they want to check the email, look outside, feel comfortable, breathe good air, not be blind by the sun. Yeah. And the same with the Revolve. When I was going to the fair, people were seeing this, super compact wheelchair, and they were not thinking, oh, it's a wheelchair. So they were almost afraid to open it. Yeah. And when you do it and you show them that it's really easy, then you got like, okay, wow, then can I try it as well? Yeah. Then you realize, actually, it's really easy. Yeah. Why did I try it before, or why did nobody did before? Yeah. So I think I like this kind of interaction that is necessary to do in startups, because the power of startups now lay also in marketing skills, of course, like Lilium, Neo, and also the work we are doing at Revolve is marketing driven, of course, to get the project out there. But then you have a huge responsibility, because when you get to the hardware, then you have to do it so well that people gonna sit in the product, say, okay, wow, it's even better than the video that I saw on the internet, on the TV. So I think that's really important. I mean, like something that I love about hearing your story as well, René, is that, you start with an idea and you turn with something completely different, your own company, your own product, building the company, which is a massive amount of work. And I love that, because when I was studying in a Royal College, there was an absolutely entrepreneurial mindset. But when I started to work, I realized, oh, it's not the moment. There was not so much chance to actually get out there in a Shark Tank, for example. And now is the time to do it. So I love this period of time where product designer, transportation designer can really say something in the industry without waiting as a ghost, let's say, behind the scene for decades. Because as you know, projects takes decades. Yeah. And we are emotional people, so we like to bring our voice out and try to bring our product out in the most clean and iconic way we want to, without being contaminated by so many feedbacks, right? Because I guess you had the same when you create the product. Yeah. People were like telling you so many feedbacks, but
that's not a motorbike. Yep. I heard this a million times, and at the beginning I took it as an insult, but now I take it as something positive, because it was never meant to be a motorbike. Yeah. But I can just give you if you have a personal connection to what you do, everything is more easy. Yeah. Everything I do, I love to do. Like every little detail I do at work, I love to do, because I love my job, and then it turns hard things into easy things. And that's maybe the advantage of a designer. If you start just with your passion for something, you will always keep this passion until the end. It's not about the business case. It's never about the money. Yeah. I've never started this thing just to make some money. Yeah. There's a million easier ways to do it. Yeah. Exactly. A million. But it still makes me happy if I see our bikes on the road, or if people stand next to it, getting big eyes, acting like small kids. Yeah. This just makes me happy, and this is enough. Yeah. Don't need more than that.
It's a good point where you said, I just want to do it, because I think I share absolutely the same thing. And I think that's the power of designers, let's say, because they are not just working for a financial plan, they work because they want the product out there. It doesn't matter what cost, of course, then comes the consequences, but really we
are that's just not our problem.
Exactly, that you just so much want that product out that,
and you give your life to realize it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Maybe that's the perfect ending. It was so great to have you here, and I would suggest next time we meet for a test drive.
Oh yeah, I would love to.
Also with the Revolve.
Oh yeah, even better. It's a nice combination, I would say, like the two products together.
So it was really great to have you here.
Thanks so much.
See you next time.
Yeah, looking forward. Bye.